Hey there, boys and girls of YouTube world. Today, Duff Dog and I are back on the 1966 Ford Bronco. That's right, everybody wants to see us restore something. Restore. So we're going to keep plugging away at this thing until you guys quit watching. Seems like Bronco you guys really like, but Duff and I like it too. We got a few things we got to do to it yet. First thing we're going to do is we're going to open the hood and we're going to put a water pump on it because that thing's been leaking, and radiator hoses, even thermostat housing. And we got a bunch of other new parts stacked up over here we should stick on it. Clear off the shelves around this place because it's a mess, ain't it, Duff? So are you. Just got you a flipping haircut and you got to go rolling the shop floor dirt and whatnot. It's okay. We know you like being a dirty dog. You want to open a hood? Okay. You're getting pretty good at that, ain't you, pal? All right, let's get this son of a biscuit off of here. Pull some hoses off, thermostat housing, water pump, fan, belt, all the good stuff. We're gonna get after it real quick today. Just 3 bolts holding this on, I think. Give it a little pry. There we go. And I'm no West, but I'll try to explain how a water pump works. So you got your crankshaft, which turns a belt, which turns your pulley here, which turns an impeller, which I believe it pulls water from the low radiator hose into the water pump housing, your engine block, and then pushes it out the top hose. It fights gravity, actually, I believe. And then once it pushes it out that top hose, then gravity runs down the radiator, cools it. Here's that impeller. I've never seen the impeller come loose on a shaft. I've heard that it happens. A lot of guys say, oh yeah, it's not cooling, put a water pump on it. Usually it's not the water pump. But there's a seal and a bearing up here in that impeller. And when those go bad, or when the seal goes bad, usually the bearing takes the seal out. It's got this little weep hole here, and so it'll leak out. Don't ever try plugging that weep hole. It might just delay your problem. You know, if you're a sketchy car salesman and want to send a car down the road quick that's got a leaky water pump, that's how you can do it. So, we're gonna steal this plug out of this, put it in the new water pump, put this on. I've never had a water pump that's held on with 3 bolts. Usually they're 4 or more. So we'll stick that new one on there after we clean up the gasket surface with our super scraper. By the way, those things are back in stock currently. At this time, probably by the time this video goes live, they're going to be out. But hit us up, mortskerepair@gmail.com. Pending price changes. The SS1, the wide 1 1/4 inch, is $36 shipped. The SS5 short, which is my second favorite behind the SS1, is 5/8 inches wide, and those are $27 shipped. And then the SS5 long, or the SS5 standard, is $29 shipped. Again, 5/8 inches wide, but they're a little bit longer. We're gonna use, I think we'll use the SS1 on this guy. Those prices are valid as of April, early May 2022. So if you're watching this video in 2028, don't expect those prices. These things are way good. And don't tell me to send Puddin' one, because I already did. And he did say it's pretty good. It's pretty good. This bottom bolt had coolant behind it when I pulled it out, so I'm going to put some tape on this guy or gal. I might even grab a new bolt because she's a little chewy on the end there. I'm going to grab a new bolt. How about that? Really sticking bucks into this thing. New bolt. Always make sure to put your thread tape on the right way. I always put it in my left hand and then wrap it around it looking from the end clockwise. You do it however you see fit, but you want to put it on there so when you thread it in, it doesn't push the tape off, if that makes any sense. More useless knowledge for you. Here's our new water pump from GMB. It's got a little bit different impeller design. I don't know if that means it's better or not. It's different, and it was cheap on the Rock Auto. I'm gonna make sure that our pulley mates up to that, because that wouldn't be good if it didn't. Looks like we're good to go on the pulley. It's got the same pilot hole size and the same bolt pattern. Everything else looks pretty A-okay. So let's get this son of a biscuit on here. This stud we're not gonna have a new one of. No coolant came out of that one. We're gonna put tape on it, just for S's and G's anyhow. Can't hurt, can it? I mean, I suppose it could. This one's pretty chewy too, so we're gonna get a new one for that. Ooh, I think we actually need a longer one. It is a little bit different up here. Oh, that should do. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Yeah, the boss on the other water pump was about a third as deep as this one. Must have been a design change in there somewhere. Good work, Ford. Do the same thing with our pipe plug. Put some pipe tape on the right way. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I go 2 wraps. How many wraps do you go with your pipe dope? Just enough so that it don't leak. That's how many. Oh, don't tell me this pipe plug is a different size. Why? There we go. Now this pipe plug is just temporarily permanent. This is where our heater hoses would hook up, but since we're bypassing the heater core right now, we don't need this. I don't know what happened, but I forgot to order a thermostat housing gasket, so I grabbed one out of my stash. I think it's for a small block Chevrolet. You can see it's a little bit too big, so I marked it out with the marker. I could just put it together, but that just looks tacky. That looks almost as bad as silicone hanging out. So I'm gonna trim this off with our Westcott skizzers here, and it'll be just like OEM. Arts and crafts. Don't be a hack. Trim your gasket. It ain't gotta be perfect, just gotta be better than it was. There you go. Barely see it. That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Okay, we got our newish used thermostat. We'll slide that in there. Tech tip of the day. Smear a little grease on this side of the gasket, or both sides of the gasket. Any side of the gasket if you plan on taking it apart. It really works good if you're taking carburetors on and off, swapping carburetors, playing with that stuff. Put that grease on there and it keeps the gasket from sticking to the surface so you can reuse it. We don't plan on taking this apart ever again though. Key phrase, plan on it. Another thing that bothers me, I know I got a pretty long list, is when people leave the stickers on their radiator hoses. I know it's real handy to determine where they came from and what part number they are, but it just looks tacky, I guess. That's me. What do I know? I also hate when you get the wrong radiator hose, but oh, whew, this looks good. I think these are the original. Whoops. See? Oh, son of a biscuit. Right in the pan, of course. Mortske's Law. Well, this isn't ideal. The other radiator hose clamps that we took off had a Ford part number on them, so I'm thinking they're the originals. How neat is that?
How neat is that?
Oh, this one says Made in USA. It must have been on the top radiator. So yeah, look at these guys. B7AZ-8287. That is a factory Ford part number. Oh, look at that. Even has the blue oval right on there. Oh, son of a biscuit. That ruins our plans. I'm sure somebody already caught that. But that pulley does not line up with that pulley. Suppose I should have known that's why the Ford water pump required a different bolt. Awesome. Well, I guess we're gonna have to do some digging. I think I ordered this for a 78 Ford Fairmont. So we're gonna have to find some other Ford that runs a 200 engine. And we'll have to look to see that it's got a shallower neck here, and then it's got a shallower boss there. And then we're gonna have to figure out if we can get one in time to finish this video this week. Or we just run without a water pump. I suppose we could try to find a different pulley with a deeper offset, but that seems like the wrong answer. So that's probably what we'll do first. Great. I don't hate on Fords any more than anything else. I hate on everything equally. But this is what I don't like about Fords. You know, you gotta have 19 different freaking water pumps. So maybe we can get, oh yeah, there we go, C8DE-8505B. We'll see what we can come up with. The Ford, nothing interchanges except oil and antifreeze, and you better check your operator's manual first. See what we can come up with here. So according to the Napa Online ProLink, whatever thingamabobber, it looks like it's about a 61 to 75 water pump. The guy we took off with this short little boss here. So the 78 water pump we got, it's deeper, apparently is different. So we got a new one of them coming. We're just gonna leave that on there for now. I didn't even look for a different pulley, because for $40 that I can get that thing for my count, it ain't worth my time. Hopefully that'll be here in time so we can finish this video. Let's pull that carburetor off so we can get that cleaned up and kitted. And then I got a new battery tray. So we're gonna put a new one of them in there, because we're gonna put a new battery in this thing and we don't want that floppy dopping around. Even got a new hold down so we can get our West River battery hold down back. What do you think about that, Duff? Really classing her up. So we'll pull a carb off. And we're gonna pull battery box out. Here we go. Looks like we got a 5/16 bolt holding it there. But you can see the head is shrunken severely.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, stop it! Hey, you're messing up here! Come on! Whoa! Whoa! Stop it! Whoa!
And shrunken heads creep me out. Also because you can't really get a socket that fits on them. Maybe a 7/16 will go. See if we can get these out. Battery acid is bad on hardware and pretty much everything. We're gonna get the big dog impact. Woohoo! Looks like the encapsulated nut is no more. I think we're just gonna go ahead and cut that one right off. See if we can't get the old death wheel in there. See if we got some new ones of those and some new hardware. Doesn't that look way better than the last one? Where do the bolts go? How come nothing ever fits? So here's what we got. The one bolt is right there, and the one's right there. And this thing don't have either of those holes. So we're gonna line her up as best we can and mark them and drill them. Ain't the end of the world, but why can't stuff just fit? This isn't Ford's fault. This is somebody that I purchased this from. Okay, just loving life today. Wrong water pump. Gonna modify our new battery tray. My encapsulated nuts are frickin' metric. Thanks a lot, Amazonia. Speed clips. That's what they're calling them. I need a sandwich. Got them marked. Oh, that doesn't look like this one. This thing's it's stamped different. Why? What is going on here? Alright, let's mark them this way. Maybe that'll work better. And that hole might line up with that hole. I don't know. This thing's gonna look like Swiss cheese by the time we get done, I got a feeling. The old Milwaukee doing its thing. What are the odds? Some holes left. Not very good. Yep. I think we're just gonna measure the distance between the two and drill 2 new holes and cheat it over this way a little bit so it's kind of flush with this inner fender here, because that's where I would have had it. Where was the original one at? And the original one stuck 3 inches over on this side. I guess we gotta put longer battery cables we can. Cheat her over this way. Yeah, to heck with it. Also, that battery acid rusted out this real nice inner fender, so it would be a good time to address that. Oh, body mount, you say? We don't need those. Looks like somebody's welded that at one time too. Okay. Looks like we got about 5 3/4 center to center, and we're about 2 1/4 from the edge. Let's see if that fits. Oh yeah, money in the bank. Put my speed nut on the bottom of that guy. I might have to give it the old reach around from underneath. Tech tip of the day, put some weight on top of the bolt that you can't hold against. Or a magnet, a lock and pliers, whatever. If you can't hold it with both hands. Is that a good tip? I don't know. Works for me. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Maybe that's what we should name the second channel. Just the tips. What do you think about that one? Buzz them down. Isn't that way better than that? Yes. Yes, it is. Look at this. Got a hold down kit. Came separate. Comes with the encapsulated nuts, U-clips. Son of a biscuit. Oh well. Not the end of the world. Well, this thing should have a Group 24 F, I think. F means Ford or backwards posts. We're gonna put a 78 DT in there, dual terminal. This one is sponsored by Dave. Thanks a lot, Dave. Even though it says cat on it. Ew. Ew. Let's see if our hold down works with it. I think it will. Look at that. It's as solid as the inner fender anyhow. We're just about to get started working on the Bronco today. Guess who's gonna embrace us with her presence? Oh, those are new pajamas. Got them high and tight. You just climbed right in there, didn't you, Duff Dog? Show them what we got going on here. So yeah, we got the spring, and we had the retainer outer piece here. It was kind of whang-dang doodled up. And we're missing that cup, so let's pop this out of there. Let's see what we gotta do. And this one was a little stiff. Oh, these seats suck. Duff, you wanna make some brackets for these seats? That'd be great. Give her the old reach around. Man, this thing's been getting a lot of reach arounds here. There we go. So now, I think we should test fit that one. What do you think? Remember this one being pretty stiff and like you had to turn it back. Yeah, she sticks in the crank position. So we'll take that nut off of there and we'll put that other one on, maybe give her a dry run in there first. See how that works. Remember what size that was, Duff? 3/8? Why didn't you tell me I didn't even need a wrench? You're so wise. Slides right off there. Sure. Maybe. Got our cup pre-installed. Gonna hook up our connector. And then we should just be able to slide her in, allegedly, according to the internet. Different thread. Son of a... Is nothing sacred these days? Alright, I'm gonna go find a nut. Because heaven forbid, this comes with a new one. Okay. We found a burr. Now, did I put that in the right way or is it 180 off? Come on. Alright, watched a couple of lube tube videos. By couple, I mean one. The guy's name was Acura or Integra something, so you know. Oh! Money. Look at that. Thanks, Integra something or other. I think you could clock it. 180 degrees off, 50, 50, 90 roll. We clocked her right. Oh, it's gonna be so much more good. I hated that old ignition switch. We better put a cool key ring on it, huh, Duff? If only we had a Dick Hammer one. Dick Hammer, what a great name. And then he's selling furniture to boot, and he's selling beds. He's recommending a Sealy Posturepedic. Can you imagine buying a bed from somebody these days named Dick Hammer? Or what was the guy's name that was in the unibody? I don't remember. Dick Luby. Are you kidding me? That's the guy's name. Dick Luby. Wow.
Wow.
Look at this ugly keychain. That's something from Jesse James. Oh, PFS sent it to me. I like this one because it matches the rig. Go check it out. Get your own at puddin'sfabshopmerch.com/keyring. I don't know. Anywho, man, that thing's solid. I don't know what it is. He said Jesse James made it. He asked if I wanted it because he bought two. I said, sure. I kind of dig the guy. I don't know what it is. You guys know what it is. He probably could have won $1 million for buying it or something. Good to go. It kind of matches the rig, right? Now what are we gonna do, Duff? Ignition switch engaged. We got a new choke cable, but this one's down here. And the one we got I don't think is that good. So here's what I'm thinking, Duff. We got headlight surrounds. Before we put those on, let's see if the headlights work. And we got new taillight lenses, which I think are the same as 64 to 66 Ford pickups. I think 66 Broncos were the only year that didn't have the little backup light whiteness in there. I do have some used lenses, but they're for the 67 and newer. So they got that little backup lens. You're worthless now. There's a bunch of weird stuff about the 63s. We got some new gaskets. Before we put those on, let's see if we get the lights working. And if you guys remember, the 66 was the one year only, the single reservoir fruit jar, which had a inline pressure switch. Well, I don't know if it's inline. It's teed into the whatever, you know what I'm talking about. It's teed into the line. You push the brakes, it sees that there's pressure and the switch goes off. So we got this switch, which is off of like a 70 Bronco, and that just clips over the pin for the brake rod. Hopefully we can adapt that, and we just got to run those wires to the inside. I just don't like those pressure switches because they go bad, and they got away from them for a reason, because they suck. And at least when you push on this, your brake switches, I mean, these go bad too, but your brake lights are going to come on anytime there's pressure on the pedal. Where with those pressure style switches, you could be slowing down, but there's not enough pressure to trip the switch. think it's government mandated that they couldn't run them anymore. And then if that switch were ever to really fail, you could lose all your brake push. I don't know, just my thing. They went to these, we're gonna use one of these. So see if we can't get this working. I do have a new dimmer switch for this thing. It's on the floor, in case you millennials have never seen one. And those are pretty common to go bad. I also got a new connector for that in case that's bad too, while we're trying to figure out the lights. I don't even know if this, where's the headlight switch on this thing? Must be this guy. Who knows if that's any good either. I'm guessing there's supposed to be like a surround that goes on there too that we're missing. So I guess we'll have to find one of those in our travels, unless some Bronco person's got one that they want to part with. Bronco people are the nicest, and you folks hook me up with a lot of Bronco parts. So I'm gonna go underneath, see what I can figure out for this switch. Duff's just gonna nap on that unmounted seat over there. We should also bolt down this top. I remember it being quite loose on our last ride. You want to do that? You just hang out. Got it. Oh, how this has snowballed. I never really knew how these switches worked. I figured it out. So your pin goes through here, and this little bronze colored tab's got it right at the back side of your pedal. We got something metal here we can put it against. So it'd sit like so. Here's the back of your pedal. And when you push the pedal, it tilts and it pushes against that bronze like so, and that's what activates your switch. Well, the hole, this is our pedal, the hole is too far ahead. It's got to be in just the right spot so it catches that. Easy enough, just drill a new hole, right? I can't get the rod out that holds the clutch and the brake in there because it hits a vent down there. And this steering column setup irritates me because it's wrong and too short and whatnot. So let's get that out of there. We gotta get that out of there to get the pedal assembly out of there. So that's what I'm gonna do now. We gotta go underneath the hood. We gotta unhook the shift rods. Gotta unhook it from the, oh, is that a gemmer? The gemmer steering box. We gotta take this clamp off down here. The clamp that's holding it to the steering column, or to the dash. That cover on the dash. Then we gotta take the bolts out for the pedals. We gotta unhook the clutch linkage. And we'll get it all out of there, all just to drill a hole. But at the same time, we should be able to test it on the bench. We'll be able to check that the bushings and the clutch rod and everything else is good. I did notice that it's a little bit sloppy in the clutch linkage. And who knows, it's just gonna open a whole can of worms. Duff is over it. But it is what it is. We need brake lights, want it done right. So we're gonna do it right. Oh, and also the bump stop for the pedal is wang dang doodled up. So we're gonna knock that straight, maybe stiffen her up a bit. It's just not going well. Why can't they just have a normal switch with a lever or just a push button that it pushes against or something? The old pressure switch is looking pretty good right about meow, but we needed to figure out that steering column setup anyway. In the worst case scenario, they had the old column stuff in here. I think that's the right stuff. And maybe we can use that to get it back to the right way. And if that's all janked up and that's why they took it out, then it'll be a good time to put our shifter in. I just don't know that we're gonna be able to get it all done and drive it by the end of the work week here. But we're gonna start thrashing on it. Less talking, more thrashing. Here we go. You suppose that's why the cab's loose? I know he said the shifter and the column was one of the things they were working on they couldn't get figured out. So I ain't got enough room to get this column out of here, so I wonder if he had to take the top off to do it. We're gonna see if we can't pull the steering wheel off and get us enough room. You can see this is the pickup mounting brackets, and this is the bracket that was on the whatever Bronco. I'm guessing they cut it off of this guy, and the plug is different. That's what this thing should have, that little tiny rectangular plug. And this thing's got kind of a half moon setup. Just silly. And I bet that other column is longer. This part anyway. But this part looks new. The bell for the shifter. Who knows what they got going on here. Frickin' cowboys. Well, we were gonna get rid of this steering wheel anyway, so let's see if that gives us enough room. I really don't want to take the top off. Not now. At some point I want to take it off and just leave it off. Or put a full top on. I'm not really a half cab guy. Okay, steering wheel time. Well, you think it's gonna fit out of there, Duff? Got the old Superior Performance Products, the 500. It's got this cool little flying guy with a helmet holding the steering wheel. These are pretty common steering wheels. I don't like the ones with the foam. I don't think anybody else really does. They kind of deteriorate like this. The rubber ones with the inlaid metallic are pretty swanky. I got a couple of them. Puddin', he's got a couple hanging on the wall. But this one's seen better days. Hopefully it just fits out of there. What do you think? Is it gonna go? Man, you're a lot of help. Here goes nothing. Oh, she's close, Stuff. If we could just get her snuck. Oh, won't quite go with the door. There. Hey, oh, let's go. Come on now. Oh, we're cooking. Just gotta fit her by the pedal down there. Oh no. We're this dang close. Got it! Woohoo! Almost feel like having a celebratory sandwich after that. Except we got pedals to get out. Meow. Meow. So you tell somebody's been messing with the clutch, some cowboy, just a chunk of wire instead of a cotter key. Hopefully we can unhook that. Get the pedals out of here. But probably not, cause Ford. There. We got it unhooked, but it's still kind of in the way. We have to unhook that clutch linkage underneath. Kind of look. Oh no! Slide her back. What are you thinking, Duff? What are you thinking? Oh, sliding it back in is gonna be a lot of fun, ain't it? It's almost like they didn't really want you taking these apart. Non-serviceable, we would call that. Oh, it's so close, yet so very, very far. All kinds of room on the clutch side here. I'm tight against that heater box over there. We gotta take the flipping foot feet out too. Ford, Ford, Ford. You just gotta get angry with it. There's our clutch rod bushing. I don't think that's doing much. So we should probably see if we can find one of them. But it's out of there. Okay, so here's what we got going on here. Remember I told you that bronze tab's got to be on the back side of the pedal? See how it's about a ½ inch in? We're gonna move that whole ½ inch back. Here's the pivot pin that I was trying to get out. And there's bushings on each. They share the same pivot pin. So those seem tight. So that's good. But this is the pedal stop. You can see how she's wang dang doodled up. We gotta straighten that out when we got her apart. Part of it might be in the bolt, but I think they bent that flange there. So we gotta knock that back in, because that's all the further I could knock it out. So hoping I could knock that out, get this out, drill it, but we're gonna knock it apart, mark where we gotta drill our hole. Might have to fill that one in first. And then
No ending! No ending!
Continue our repairs. This is turning from repairs to fabrication, you know. This is how to convert your 67 Ford Bronco to a normal style brake pedal switch. Yay. So I just had an epiphany here. We would have to move this thing, let's see if I can show you, to about there. So we don't have much material left. So I don't know how they do these from the factory. So I thought, well, we could just trim off a bunch here, but actually we could take our zippy wheel and do a little zip right there where this thing rides. That might be all we need to do. Just enough for that bronze to ride in, and then when you push the pedal, it moves it. In the worst case scenario, we just need to machine a little surface out of there. And by machine, I mean hit it with the flap disc. Just enough so that that bronze has a spot to catch. Because then we don't, I mean, we're making this a little bit thinner, but it's plenty wide. There's plenty of meat there. So I think that's what we're going to try. I'm going to go get the bolt and a marker and a zippy wheel and a flap disc. And we're going to see if we can't screw this all up. I'm having zero luck with this thing. It's, I don't know, maybe somebody knows more about these things. Is it the rod that's supposed to push on it? So I thought maybe I could build up the end of the push rod here. It seems like a really terrible idea. So I suppose when you push on it, pushes on that. I don't know. But at the same time, I suppose I could grind these tabs off a little bit. It's like it wants to bind on the pedal. I don't know. So here's what some of my other options are. I ain't decided yet. This is off like a 47 to 53 Chevy pickup. I'm guessing a lot of 50s GM cars had them. So this just bolts underneath your dash. It's got this lever arm. See how it's got tension on it, and as you push the brake pedal, it takes the tension off, lights come on. These are all normally closed switches, and so you push them like that and then they're open, and you push the brake pedal and they go to closed. Same with this. Well, this is a normally open, and then you press on it, it goes normally closed. I don't know, you get what I'm saying. Here's one off of GM. This is for like your 80s model cars that have a torque converter lockup. So one of these is normally open, which is for your brake lights, and one's normally closed, which is for your overdrive or torque converter lockup. So when you push the brake pedal, it opens up, kicks off your torque converter, and then also turns on your lights. And then I got another one of these 47 to 53s, but it's the lever is in the opposite direction. You know, you got to have options. What else we got here? I think that's about it. I kind of like these ones. They're pretty simple. You just put a wash, you know, just basically build a flat tab with a hole like a washer and put it through there, and this rides against the back side of the pedal. You push the pedal, comes off. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. These ones are even more simple if you got the right spot to do it. You just put a couple of self tappers in there, drill it from the other way, and these are threaded. Bada bing, bada boom. So you can't make sense of all of this. I don't know. I'd have to go look at a vehicle that's got one of these and eyeball it. I just don't want to go through all the work, put that stupid pedal assembly underneath there, fight it, and then find out she don't work. I thought it would be easy because this is what the later Fords had, but they must have had either a different rod, which we stole this rod out of who knows what. That's the other part about drilling the hole back here. Then the rod gets longer, so we might have some adjustment left in here, but I didn't take a ton of material out, but I took enough, and it still isn't enough. I don't know why. And I don't want it to get bound so that the lights are on all the time, draining the battery, or don't come on when you want them to come on. So I think we're just going to abandon this. I think. I don't know yet. I don't know. I kind of want to keep my Ford all Ford. But it's just ain't meant to be. I suppose suppose we could weld a little bit on the back side here and square it off. Put that in there and see if that makes a difference. I'm gonna go put this back in our pedal assembly and eyeball some of our other stuff and see if one of those will work easy enough. Right, Duff? Yeah, you're napping in that cab. I know you are. Oh, here's another example. This is for one that doesn't have overdrive. Just a single, normally closed switch. Then you push that in, opens it up. You push the brake pedal, closes, lights come on. That's an SL S66T. If anybody's putting a 4L60E or a 700R4 under the lockup, that's a 4C2 Advantech part number. And a standard part number. We got this straightened out, so our bump stops where it needs to be. We're going with this style switch. I got a template. I'm gonna transfer it to metal. GM stop switch it is. Come on. All right, there you have it. It's way overkill. I got one of these Speedway gussets on the backside. Speedway Motors makes these pre-cut gussets with the holes drilled in them. You get a box of them for like 20 bucks. They used to make them. I don't know if they do anymore. Get that burned in there. Also, that should hopefully stiffen up that stop as well so that that doesn't get bent back again. So you can see that's at rest. So you just press the pedal down, boom. Brake lights, come on. Woo, woo, woo. New guy's in the back puking his guts out.
New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
I could paint it, but the rest of it looks like complete trash anyway. I wish I had a GM connector that clips on there. I might have a wire harness we can steal one off of, or probably buy one on Amazon, but otherwise we can just put these spade clips that come with the kit on there as well. I think we're ready to stick this in. I did look at the hole on the clutch there, and she's pretty round. It's a little bit worn, but I think if we can find a bushing and put on the end of that clutch linkage rod, we should be good. I don't know that I have one, but we can always put one on later. You sick of this stuff, Duff? Should we slide her in there and then work on some wiring and a steering column? This took pretty much all night, so didn't expect to do all this. I was just hoping to use our cool little Ford connector and hook a couple of wires up, good to go. But it hath snowballed once again. But it should be good. It's like a off-the-shelf brake switch, so if we ever have one fail, should be able to pick one up at O'Reilly's or Napa or CarQuest or wherever you're at. Just get one for a GM. And yeah, cool. I like using off-the-shelf parts for stuff like this. And it's super overkill. And it's adjustable. That's the part I don't like about this stuff. There's no adjustment to it. You get what you get. Maybe somebody can comment down below and explain how these things work better than me. You must have to have like a square end on your push rod. I don't know. I'm over it. Throw it on the shelf to never be used. Sell it at my auction for $1 when I die someday. It will be a $1 box. All right. Let's slam it back together. Man, you were a lot of help. The pedals went in surprisingly well. You gotta sneak them up and in there. You can get the bushing kind of halfway in on that clutch. It's pretty good. Look at this. Out of limits means no continuity. Push the pedal down barely. We got continuity. So, provided we can get some wiring to that, we should have brake lights. Yes. Is that comfortable with your leg hanging off over like that? Oh, I thought I suppose you thought you were pushing the pedal for me. Like when we're bleeding brakes, you're a lot of help. No thumbs, but he can paw a pedal. So, do we wire those up, or do we go onto the column? Or do we call it a night? I think we call it a night. Spent all night, put an ignition switch in, pulling pedals and column and everything apart, just to get a brake light switch. Ugh. But we got the bump stop fixed, and we got a clutch bushing kind of fixed, and we got the dimensions so we can order some new ones. Stuff just takes forever. This is why everybody wants to see me restore something. I could spend a whole weekend on those pedals, blasting and cleaning and lubing and putting new bushings in there and welding holes shut and re-reaming them out so they're not oblong. Putting new pedal pads on. This is why we don't have anything nice, because it would take an eternity. Duff's already bored, so see you guys in a little bit.
Well, hey out there, YouTube fans. Mortske asked if I could clean up and rebuild the carburetor off the Bronco, because I have the ultrasonic cleaner, because I've been doing a couple quadrojet carburetors, so we got the big one. So let's dig into it. Alright, out here in the shed, because Mama don't like the smell of hot stinky pine sol. Broke the carburetor down into 3 separate parts. As you've seen in the garage, I bagged up in 2 little baggies that I'll fill with fluid in the ultrasonic cleaner of the small parts. Cleaner is warming up. I'll probably set it to about a half hour to get everything kind of cleaned up in the hot, warm, agitated liquid. Then we'll come back and see what it looks like. There we go. Come back in about a half hour. Alright, after a half hour of soaking, let's see what stuff looks like. Probably won't be able to see what's in the bags, but check out the big parts. Looks like they're gonna need a little scrubbing, but you can see it's starting to come off pretty easily. Give her a little scrub down with the brush and see what comes out next time. Put that thing back in there. See what the other stuff looks like. Oh, the base came out really nice. I even got a lot of that rust off the bottom. I'll give her a little brush down and sink her back in. Alright, put that back in there. Top looks pretty decent. Scrub around a little bit and see if it comes out a little better the next time. Flip that bad boy over this time and see what that does. There you go. It's sunk in there. Turn it back on. Alright, let's pull it out and see what it looks like after the scrubbing. Oh yeah, the base cleaned up really well. Main body, not too terrible. Looks like it maybe could use another dip, but we gotta go to work, so we'll have to wait. Top looks pretty good. Seems like I might need to do some scrubbing in there, but all in all, not bad. And let's see what's in the bags. Drain them out. I guess it's really just all the bolts and stuff, but they came out pretty good too. All that power valve stuff turned out pretty nice, it looks like. Alright, probably dip the main body one more time. Start putting the rest back together. Well, all the parts came out pretty well cleaned up. Alright, well, it's still kind of dirty in there, out the wipe in there. Other than that, looks okay. Alright, here we go. got her all wrapped up. Turned out pretty good. Nice and clean. Hopefully I put it back together the right way. I used some of the diagram. I think the kit was for a newer carburetor, so I cleaned up the gasket on the back here that stuck out, but all in all, pretty good. Ultrasonic cleaner is the way to go for cleaning carbs. This has been number 3 that I've done. Those 2 are just about wrapped up also. Well, this is Chinstrap signing off.
What are you doing?
Put a little check ball in.
He didn't put all the parts in there. He's like, hey, there's extra parts. Should I put those in?
Hey, no. It wasn't in there to begin with.
So we'll see.
It's gonna make it so much faster, because that's what we need this thing to do, is go fast. It's gotta buck a little harder.
You want to go fast, Duff?
I want to go fast.
Also, we got Squirrely Burley to stop in, talk to Napa Todd, and bring us a new water pump, eh? Look at how much shorter that little guy is.
Oh, that little guy. I wouldn't worry about that little guy.
So that should be good, and it's going to be super fast because it's aluminum, so it's going to for sure take some weight off the front end. So we're between the carbonator and this, we're going to be doing wheelies, no doubt. So I'm going to slam this on, and then at some point we'll put that on, and then maybe it'll run again. It just is not going to shift or steer. I pondered my life last night and was looking at this thing, and that steering column tube is indeed longer than this one. So we're going to try to take the guts out of the 2 and make them work so that the tube at least lines up. If we don't have the shift linkage, then we'll have to figure out how to put a shifter on it. And then I got a new hazard switch and turn signal switch coming so that we got the right connector on it, but that's not going to be here this week. So we're just going to fake it till we make it. Wish we could get a new connector, because that one looks like she got a little warm. Okay, back at it. Let's stick our carbonator on there. I greased up my gasket, not because I don't trust Chin's work, but because you never know what happens. If I grease it, I won't have to take it apart. If I don't grease it, I'll have to take it apart, similar to the water pump. Didn't grease that gasket, we had to take it apart. Luckily that gasket come apart. Let's stab this on there, see if my nice new bent up fuel line matches up. We can make that work. Hopefully the carbonator just works, because that would be the first thing of this whole rig that actually worked. Had to trim off our hard line here just a hair, and then I went and flared it just a bit so that that rubber line can't come off. A little short stretch on low pressure. It's probably never going to come off anyway, but a little flare won't hurt. Yeah, I think that'll work pretty good. So we get a little chunk of rubber hose and a couple clamps. Fuel system should be about wrapped up. So we got these 2 wires coming off the brake pressure switch. We got those jumpered with our yellow wire here. And then we had to take our steering column and we stole our connector off here because the brake signal wire goes up and into the column and it goes through your turn signal. So that way when you're turning left, it's not just your brake light. The turn signals actually override the brake lights, and we had to figure out what was left turn, left brake, right brake, horn, and then there's a 12-volt power which is there for the horn. I think that was all of them. So we had to take those connectors off, which they had butt splices on anyway, figure out which was what. This one's the blinker relay. I forgot that one. Not a relay. What do they call that thing? I don't know. Chin can comment down below what that blinker thing is. So we just bypassed that and we twisted the brake signal with the left and right brakes. So we're not gonna have turn signals till that new cancel cam, or turn signal cam, comes in. And watch this. Well, since we got that jumpered, we gotta run the wires back from those 2 wires under the hood to our new switch underneath the dash. Oh, looky there. We got brake lights. And now, if I unhook that jumper, we're gonna have nothing. But if we pull the headlight switch on, oh man, we even got dash lights? Son of a biscuit. Look at that. We got tail lights. So there was a broken wire here for the taillight on this side, and then they just twisted some wires in there cowboy style for their trailer connector, which is all these wires here. And then on the right side, they had these old Scotch clip guillotines in there. So we got rid of all that, put some heat sink and solder butt connectors in there, and then taped them up real good. So pretty much wrapped up back here. We'll need a license plate light, but we will address that when we get a bumper on it, because I hate these bumpers. I want to either make something or buy something aftermarket, or ideally find some stock ones or buy some stock ones. But we got lights back here. Now we just got to figure out the fronts, unfortunately. We don't have anything going on up there. Headlight switch is on. I got power down at the dimmer switch. So somewhere between the dimmer switch and here, it ain't working. So pretty much all I did was got our old Power Probe 3 out and just started prodding around, figuring out where, when we hooked power up to this, where that goes into the cab, and then had to cut those connectors off and just splicing and guessing, I guess. So I know, boring stuff, Duff. So that was about an hour and a half worth of work that we summed up in 2-3 minutes here, because nobody wants to see wiring. Nobody wants to do wiring, including me. It's got to be done though. All right, I'm gonna run those wires in to that switch. We're gonna put a butt connector on those, so those are all tied together for the brake switch, and then we'll figure out the front stuff. Yay! Yay! Look at this, we got headlights. We hook that up. We got brake lights too. We got pretty much all the lights working, even some dash lights. And we fixed our clippy doos on the screws there, so the cluster's bolted in. So I think we need a new headlight switch, because she gets warm after a while and the lights kind of drop out. But park lights should be on. Woohoo! We don't have blinkers yet, but we already addressed that or talked about it. And then so I pull this lever all the way out, we got the headlights. And if I push the dimmer down, I got highs and low beams. There was a bad bulb over here. The connector through the firewall was a little screwed up. Had to wiggle on the harness on the back side of the headlight switch. High five. So we got that figured out, and then watch out there, pal. And then we put a new connector on the dimmer switch. We got to tie up them wires, but we got lights. That's pretty dang exciting. Not much to show there. Like I said, it was basically that connector was bad. We need a new headlight switch. She's pretty chooched out. We got a brake light switch hooked up. Yeah, just bad connections after years of sitting. And then, like I said, one bad 1157 bulb up here. So now we're gonna do some more wiring. I'm not showing you this stuff. Go, if you want to watch wiring, go watch Wes work on a Arctic Cat 4-wheeler. Steering columns. I'm guessing with all the shifters on the floor and how this column was in the back, they were having issues with the 3 on the tree, because nobody ever lubricates them or whatever. And it looks like the pin was just super wallered out here, and that's probably why they quit using this one. Because if you move the arm up and down, those arms move up and down. So I think they're okay. And this one's been replaced. You can tell, I forget what they call these bells, but you can buy them. This one's a little bit slopped out. Maybe not as quite as bad as that one. Put a new one of these on that unibody pickup after I got that going. So I think we're gonna try to steal that bell and put on here, because you can see the Bronco column is quite a bit longer. I cut off that connector to splice our brake wires, and I put a wire on there, some mechanics wire, and we're gonna try to fish that through. So that way when we get our new one, we'll have that wire in there and we'll be able to fish it back through. But we got to take the turn signal stuff off. I took the steering wheel adapter off. And we're just going to see what we got going on inside this one and see if we can't get everything working good. And then we'll steal the bell off this one and swap it over. Easy peasy, maybe. But we're running out of time for this week. So we'll see how this goes. The mice even carried the nest into this bell. Freaking 5-0. She's a Ford Motorcraft part. Hopefully they're the same. I don't know why Ford would change that, but I don't know a lot of things about Ford. This shaft actually slides out. It's not really sliding out on this one though. I guess I didn't try real hard either. Oh, by golly it does. I've never had one of these apart. That being said, I've never put one back together either. Maybe they don't come apart. Can these slide out now? Sure enough. I'm guessing some of this worn out stuff here is why this needed some attention. Uh-oh. We got random pieces rolling around. Oh, so see if I can explain what goes on here. So you got this tube that's got a notch in the end. It's got a spring down here, so it wants to detent to a standard location. And every time you pull the shift lever up and down, this ball rides in that slot, pulls it up, pushes it down. So when you push it down, there's a little key stock that's rides right in here. And that key stock rides in either one of these shift linkages. If that key stock goes up, it pulls on this shift linkage. If it goes down, it pulls on the other shift linkage, and then it goes either direction. So that key stock fell off in there. And you can see there's a bushing there. There's that spring. But you can see where that key stock goes. That is just absolutely wasted. So, because somebody was just ram-jamming her around, God, what a classic song. Wham-Bam, Whoa Black Betty by Ram Jam. Check it out.
Whoa, Black Betty! Lamb-a-lamb!
So we're gonna have to doctor this up. I wonder if we can steal the tube and the keyway out of this one. I know the tube's different lengths, so we'll have to cut off a chunk of this tube, weld onto this tube, or vice versa. This is getting pretty in-depth. But I don't want to put a flutter shifter in there if I don't have to. I kind of like keeping things the way they were. And these things, when they work, they're just so smooth.
My name is Keith Stone.
Keith Stone, you're so smooth.
But this thing is in need of some TLC. I still haven't got that key stock to fall out, have I? Maybe it's long gone. I don't know. Maybe it's inside the tube. You gotta fish, I don't know, should even call it key stock. You gotta get it out of the column before you can get it to slide all the way through, the way it appears. So you can't get it fished out of there with a pair of locking pliers. I wonder why that one came out. Maybe it's because that other one was mangled so bad. That's what I was calling that key stock. Just that little nub there. Some grease would probably help the whole scenario. There's our other tube. You can see that one's about 2 inches longer. What's going to be our best way to lengthen this? And if we had a tubing expander, we could cut this off and expand it, and cut this off, slide it over it, but we don't. Maybe we can find some tubing the same diameter, or slightly larger. Nah, because you can't get it it's got to slide through that upper bearing. Oh, we got room. Let's see what we can come up with. Looky what we got here. I believe this is a column tube out of a 50s Pontiac. That's how you save everything, kids. So we should be able to just cut this, put a sleeve in here. We got to be 30 and 7/16 long. Currently we are 29 or 28 and a half. So yeah, 2 inches we need to stretch it. So we'll just cut it, clean her up a bit. Cut about a 3-inch chunk out of that. This thing, the diameter is small enough that it fits through the bearing, upper bearing, I think. What's it catching on? Oh, it's catching on that Wang Tang doodle there. So, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? What a bunch of messing around just to make a column shift work. Again, this is why I don't restore anything, because, you know, technically it needs one of these. You could be sandblasting this. There's bearing in the bottom, there's bearing in the top. There's all these bushings. There's these bushings in the ends of all that shift linkage. There's this bushing. There's just so much stuff going on here that it would take me, you could spend a whole weekend just on this steering column. That's if you had all the right parts. Everything went back together okay. There's a bearing up here. Oh man, it just snowballs. And then you get done and I wouldn't want to drive it anyway. I wouldn't let the dog ride in it. Okay. Yeah, I'd let you ride in it, I know. So let's do some cutting and some welding. Cutting and button. Which one are we using? This guy? This guy. Oh, we gotta make sure we get this clocked right. Son of a biscuit, and we cut all of our tubes apart. Tech tip of the day. Mark how these things line up. Good news is, I don't know if that's where, it's not a seamless tube. So there's that line right there. So hopefully we can line that up. Whoopsies. I don't know if that's the biggest mistake we make all day. We're doing all right. Should be able to line all that stuff up. Good to go. Whew. That could have been ugly. So now I'm going to take and clean up all the bearing surfaces and anything that's got some old grease on it, try to put some new grease in it. I already hit this tube up with the wire wheel. I'm going to try to clean up this bearing surface down here and up there at the top of the column. In this collar here, try to clean all the old crusty grease out, put some new grease in it, and then we'll put everything back together. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Yeah, I don't think so. So for lubing up our surfaces, we're going to use some Mag 1 multi-purpose water-resistant marine grease. Is there really any grease that's not water-resistant? You know, we're using marine stuff because this thing might get submerged. And it's because of what I had on the shelf. So, I don't know what's going on with this column. I can pull it back, and I can get it to catch this shorter linkage, so that's first and reverse. So that, when I pull that up, it's pushing the tube down, so the tube's not going down far enough. Because then when I push ahead, it's pulling the tube up, so that's sliding that notch up here, and we're never catching second and third, which this one should be second and third, I believe, and this one should be first and reverse, because as you push this ahead, it's going to pull the tube up, so it's going to grab onto this one. So I don't know if we get it in the wrong slot in there. We measured, it's 30.5 inches, or 30 7/16. Also, I figured this out. There's this, whoa, I'm gonna slide that out. There's this neat little notch here, and you slide a drill bit in there. I don't know what this is, about an 1/8 inch. You slide that through, and that's how you line everything up for neutral. So you put this in there, that's where you know neutral's at in the column, then you go underneath and you adjust your rods and linkages to get everything set up for where neutral's at. The more you know. And there's two little crazy T-bolts up in here that hold this turn signal assembly. I was trying to figure out how you fish those in there. But here you just barely start them with 2 threads onto this, and then you slide the whole thing on, and then you tighten it up. I had to find some YouTube video on how to do that. I thought about doing it that way, and I tried it, but it wasn't working, but I just needed to try harder. So I don't know what's going on here. Why we can't get second and third. I've spent, I don't know how many hours. I could make a whole episode just on this stupid steering column. So pull ahead. Well, you gotta take this out of there. Pull it back. Should be even longer, the 2 levers. So unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get this column to work. But at least we're gonna have the right steering column in it now, or we won't have that big ugly gap in there. We can put this in and put that aftermarket shifter on it, and maybe someday when I get some spare time, right, I can tear into this column. Really, it needs to come apart again anyway for that turn signal switch. This shift collar is all slopped out. I'd like to put these new bushings in down here. The bearings are so-so. It's not good. And I guess if we're gonna go to a floor shift, it'd be nice to find a floor shift collar and put on here. I suppose you could grind this off, smooth it out, smear a little filler on there, some JB Weld or something. I know a lot of guys do that when they do floor shift conversions. It just irritates me when people have this big knob there on their floor shift converted cars. It is what it is. We gave it our best shot. I got a lot of time in this thing. I've never had one of these apart before and successfully put one back together. So again, we're over the century, but I think that's gonna wrap it up this week. We're out of time. We gotta get this content to Chin so he can edit it and make it look good for you boys and girls. I need to get some sleep. These Broncos, they're money pits and they're time pits, just like all these old cars. Tell you what, if you're thinking about fixing an old car up, don't. Go buy one. You know that Charger for $80,000 that you've been looking at? It's really not that bad of a deal. Or the Bronco for $70,000. It's worth it. Just buy it. Enjoy it. So, I appreciate you watching this video. Probably going to be seeing more of the Bronco. Sorry we couldn't go for a ride. I'll get her going. Next video, we'll have to do a follow-up. Remember, doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. Steering columns are not fun. If I were to do this over again, I would buy an aftermarket column, and I would put a knuckle at the end, because that knuckle down there is shot, and just, you know, have to make a hanger bearing in there for it. But that's what I would do if I were to do this all over again, which is probably what I'll end up doing. Just kidding, that stuff costs money, so. Time is money. Let's clean up our mess. Slide this together, figure out how we're gonna get a shifter in. See you kids next week. No ride this week, pal. Sorry.